This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trend in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini Today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Judith Mancini Today. I'm so happy to be back, although not in my new studio. I'm here in the dining alcove of our new home in the California desert. We're so happy to be down here. But I must say, I have never had such a strange move in my entire life. And I've moved a lot. My husband's moved a lot. We've moved together a lot. And this was a short move. I took a chance and hired a new company, a small company for local moves. And what an experience it has turned into. They didn't know they were supposed to pack our belongings. I don't get it. I even had one of their officers of the company come out and give us an estimate, which I agreed to and had a contract. Once they were delivering our things at 8 o'clock at night, when they were supposed to be here around 2, they showed up late in the morning to load the truck, which could have had 3 or 4 more homes in it because we have downsized. Again, this is the final time we're downsizing. So there wasn't a lot. Oh my, they've lost things. They crammed our paintings into boxes, multiple paintings in them. I can't find things. I can't find things in the studio. They wanted to double charge me for more packing materials, which I found a little weird because I packed so much stuff myself, my books, my book collections, my china and my crystal. Wow, what an experience. So why I'm telling you this is because I'm sitting in one of my dining room chairs. Excuse me. I can't get to my office chair so that I don't have this kind of frame around me. So, excuse me. I made myself choke. It's kind of dusty in here from the boxes. Excuse me. Wow, pardon me. So we are here. We have some wonderful neighbors. We have 2 of our best friends down here who have been so gracious, the ones who allowed us to stay in their Airbnb as a gift to us. Pardon me. And I have some girlfriends that have discovered we moved down here. I told everybody about it on my last show. And they have graciously contacted me. They want to get together. I'm so excited to see them. I haven't seen some of them for quite a while, so I'm excited about that. And the weather now, of course, is cooling off as it's coming to winter. So the desert heat of 120 degrees has gone away and it's quite pleasant. So we know we're going to be very happy here, and I'm going to be thrilled once I can get into my little studio here in our place. So today I wanted to start with something that was happy, and I am happy that we are in this, and God has been very gracious to allow us at our age to move and find some place that we like. And a lot of people are moving because they have to. And I know some people who have had to move out of their houses because they can't afford them anymore. And this is, to me, a shameful thing in the United States. Inflation is out of control. We now have the highest interest rates for housing forever, years. It's really awful. And the debt of the United States is out of control. Trillions? What comes after trillions? Zillions? I don't know. It's terrible. So how's that going to be paid? Well, it's going to be paid by your taxes. And they keep giving more money away. So this is something we need to think about and be wise. And if you are looking for a home and you haven't used your veterans benefits, think about doing that because you deserve them. And veterans benefits always include a lower interest rate and no down payment. So if you served in any of the military places like the Air Force, the Navy, anywhere, you are entitled those. I don't know how many times you can use it. Maybe it's once, maybe it's a couple times. A spouse of a veteran can use it if, unfortunately, your spouse did not return. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I want you all to remember that tomorrow is the official Veterans Day. My father served in World War II, and little did I know until last year exactly what he had gone through in the islands. My brother shared that with me. He also is a veteran. I've had 3 husbands. The last one that I'm with now is also a veteran. And I had one other husband that was a veteran, although he didn't learn anything about being nice when he was in the service. But that's another story. So please, I have a lot of friends from high school and college that entered the service or were drafted during the Vietnam War. Most of the friends I know actually did enlist. So thank you to all of you, and let's all remember, pass that poppy around, because that poppy has now become the symbol of the veterans. So let's all salute our veterans tomorrow on the 10th of November. Okay, so before we get into why there's hate everywhere, let's discover and talk about what exactly is hate. Hate means different things to different people. When you're a little child and your parents tell you that you can't go outside and play because it's too close to dinner time, you might turn around and stomp your feet and say, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. That's not the kind of hate we're talking about. And we're not talking about your girlfriends that are saying stupid things to you and you don't like it. And you say, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. Or the kind of hate that is just silly. I'm talking about the kind of intense feelings or loathing for people that you don't even know, or countries that you don't even know. A feeling of revulsion towards these people. So many people carry on what the Nazis thought and why they wanted to exterminate the Jewish people. Stupid, ignorant ideas. How can you look at somebody and decide you're going to hate them because of their race, their color, their heritage, their ancestry? I don't understand it. You know, I have had many experiences with people from different nationalities, races, ancestry, and we've all been good friends throughout the years. Now, if they ever hated me because I'm a white American, I don't know, nobody ever showed me that. We've all been very close friends, and I'm happy that we are. But there's all sorts of things that's going on now, and what I'm really talking about is the war between Hamas and Israel. Hamas is not a nation. Hamas is a terrorist group. They are a horrible band of men. basically, who hate women, hate others in other countries, particularly the Jewish people, and they want to annihilate them all. They say that the Israelis have taken over their land in Gaza, but this is not true. Israel went back in 1948 and reclaimed their land that goes back to biblical times and beyond. So none of this is true. You need to look at your history. I can't give you all the history of it, but I certainly wish that somebody would explain to these college kids who know nothing of history and say death to Israel and Israelis would stop, and that the professors that are filling their heads full of hatred would be fired. Now, parents, in my opinion, if I had any kids in school and they were going through this and listening to this rhetoric, and they decided they would become woke and join with the Palestinian peoples that are spewing this hate, even spewing it in the halls of our Congress, I would not allow my child to return to the university that they are attending and participating in this. You can see that there are many people who have stopped funding the funds of the universities, the endowments, because of this. And I'm in total agreement with them. There is no place for hate in our world. Do you remember that phrase? It's the title of my show today, Make Love, Not War. There is a controversy over who actually started that, and you can Google it or look it up on anything, and you will see that there's quite a few people who have taken the authorship of that. But that was ringing through the halls of junior highs, high school, and college back in the 60s because of the Vietnam War. Now, in Vietnam, we took over where the French left off, and we were trying to maintain democracy in places that never really totally experienced democracy. They actually, some of them were colonized by different countries. The French being one of them, trying to take care of Vietnam and some of the other countries around there. That was not a war that a lot of people sanctioned. And as time has gone on, more and more people feel that way. And believe me, my generation are the ones who suffered through that Vietnamese War, and many of them did not return. I'm grateful that most of them did and that my brother did. So this kind of hatred needs to stop. And we're not a bunch of hippies and saying, go around and have free love, which also was tacked onto this, make love, not war. This phrase even went into popular music. It was an interesting thing, an interesting phenomenon. Of course, those were the days of rock and roll and drugs and sex. So what can you expect when somebody is walking around saying, make love, not war? Okay, but let's be kind to each other. Let's try to understand people's race, heritage, religion, what have you. Now, I am not saying that we should let Hamas go and kill everybody. This atrocity on October 7th is something that was the second Holocaust, quite frankly. Instead of gas chambers, they went into this area and they beheaded children. They raped the women. You must have all seen the pictures of that poor young lady who was pulled from the car, the SUV, and then pushed in through the passenger door. This has got to stop. What if that was your daughter? What if it was your daughter? And to this point, you were saying to yourself, I'm for Hamas. I don't like Jews. Well, you know what? Maybe Jews don't like you because you are too close-minded. Did you ever think of that? You need to look into your heart and stop this kind of thinking. Start looking to history. Start looking at things that are on the internet that are not preaching torture, rape, killing people from the river to the sea. This is meaning they want to annihilate all of the Jewish people. They're actually saying this. Now, I saw a little bit on a reel the other day, and it was a reel from somebody I really admire. I'm not sure how it was done, but it was an interesting reel. But besides that, there was something tacked on from a person who was against Hamas, and for various reasons. Hamas wants to take over the country and rule the country of Israel. But this person was saying, under the Jewish occupation, or however you want to say it, when they were in the Gaza Strip, people actually had jobs, they had food, they felt protection. Everybody who is Palestinian does not approve of Hamas. And you should know that every Palestinian in the United States is not a member of Hamas. Even though these people are protesting, having riots, that is not everyone. And they should not be doing this. But part of this is the fault of our government. We have gotten into a position where the government doesn't seem to want to do anything about people rioting, surrounding police stations and setting them on fire so that the police can't escape. The police were not called out. They allowed people to say horrible things about the police, as well as defund the police. We are a nation without any laws that are being enforced now. Now, I want to read you something about hate crimes in 2022. And this comes from the FBI Crime Data Explorer. In 1922, 59.1% of hate crimes, the victims were having crimes committed against them because of race, ethnicity, and the country that they were from. 17.3% were against these victims because of religion, and 17.2% were about sexual orientation. In the incidents, 11,288 single biases, meaning it was against race only or it was against religion only, okay? There were 13,278 victims. This is out of hand. And the police shouldn't have to become involved for any of this because none of this should be happening. People have gone out of their minds, and this is how Nazism started in Germany, with the people being riled up and things happening like the Crystal Night, where they went around and burned all the Jewish businesses. And they started going into homes and pulling them out and sending them to the concentration camps and then sending them to the ovens. This is a horrible atrocity, and it's coming to this country. It's coming to this country unless we stop it now. There's a young girl who is an intern at the Free Press, which is something you can find on the internet, and I read it occasionally. Her name is Julia Steinberg, And she wrote it today, or she published it today on the Free Press. And she goes to Stanford. She actually, I'm just summarizing this for you. She actually went to high school here in Los Angeles. And most of the students that she was with, as she is, were Jewish. So she didn't see too much of this going on because she went to a school where there were mostly Jewish people and everybody got along. But then she got to Stanford. She's in her second year at Stanford. And she's that intern at the Free Press. Well, I urge you to go to the Free Press and look up her article today and read how this has progressed and what she has gone through. It might open your eyes. So her name again is Julia Steinberg, and she published it today on the Free Press. Just punch in Free Press on your laptop and you'll find it. So the other thing I want you to know, we need to stop this, and we need to stop it now. There are a couple things you can do besides educating yourself. I want you to stand up and speak out. You know, you'll see a lot of posts on Facebook where people say, stand with Israel. Okay, whatever. They were doing it for Ukraine in the beginning when Putin was attacking. They were saying, stand with Ukraine. Well, now this Israeli war is horrible, and they have a right to defend themselves. And as they're doing it, we are partners with Israel. We don't have a lot of people who love us in the Middle East, and they don't want to give us oil. And of course, we have shut down all of our oil, so now we're dependent on them, and yet they hate us. What if they cut off the oil? Because Biden cut off the oil here, so what's going to happen to us then? This is what you have to think about. You have to think about the atrocities of October 7th and speak out when you see something that's correct on the internet. Speak out and say, I stand with Israel. Israel is our partner, and I have no doubt that they would stand with us. You know, there's a lot of United States citizens who still are Israeli, and they have returned home to try to fight this. Think about them. Think about the hostages, little children, sons and daughters in their teens and early 20s, grandmas and grandpas that they took out of their beds on a morning on the weekend when people were at home relaxing. Did you know that in Israel, a lot of people have safe rooms? And I believe, and I've never been able to verify this yet, that it is now kind of like a law or something that says you must build a safe room when you're doing new construction. So in the Gaza, many people had safe rooms, but apparently they weren't all that safe because they used guns and grenades to open them up and pull these people out of it. And you saw the horrifying pictures of the blood on the floors of these places and the bullet holes and the toys. It's almost unspeakable. It's just terrible. So the first thing I would say is stand up and speak out. And the second thing I've already spoken to is educate yourself and educate others. When you find something out that you think is important, speak out, post it on social networks. Because you know what? The opposition is the people who hate people, no matter what. They're posting nasty, horrible things on social media. You know, I've always said social media can be good or it could be bad. Let's make it good. Let's stand for each other. Let's get rid of these people like Hamas and support the victims. You may have people in your neighborhood, and there may be rallies very close to where we just moved from. It says Los Angeles, but it was actually in Westlake at the corner of Thousand Oaks and Westlake Boulevard. They were doing protesting for the Palestinians and for the Israelis. This is the site of many protests or campaigning, things like that, in that area. And most of the time they are very peaceful. I don't remember another one that wasn't. And I don't go to them, but I don't remember ever reading about them becoming violent. But this one did, and a poor man died from being hit and falling down and hitting his head. So there were a lot of people there who had relatives or friends that were harmed on October 7th. So it was a very, very hot topic going around at this time. And you need to support the victims and help them through this. You all know I lost my son, and several of my friends have lost children and spouses, and it's hard to get through that. And that's what happens in everyday life. They become ill or something, and they're taken way too soon. But these people were taken from an illness or an accident. They were taken by brutality, terrorism, horrible atrocities. So be kind to the victims that have relatives here and see how you can help them through this. They'll never get through it, but perhaps you could do something that would help them a little bit. I think you better start checking your schools. And I'm talking about all the way from preschool up through college, university. Our students have been indoctrinated to violent liberalism for a long time. And I think it's been going on for years, even from when my kids were in school. And I will be honest with you, my kids, either of them were violent or had violent thoughts or hated people. They love everybody. Well, at least they tell me they do, and they do, because we have had many friends of many nationalities. And one of the saddest things I saw at the school that my son went to was a Black teenager who came in, and his father asked if anybody could have him take him in. He came from a very good family. His mother lived in New York, and they were divorced, and his father lived out here, but he worked full time, and he was concerned about that. And he wondered if somebody could befriend him. Well, my son discussed it with me, and we had the young man come and live with us for a while. And when he was older and he could go back and live with his dad a little bit, a little time, we would take him on vacations and everything with us. I'm not telling you that to pat myself on the back. I'm telling you that because that's how my children were raised, to love everyone. And that's how I was raised. And it goes back and back and back. So you can do something about these kids that are doing ridiculous things. There's nothing wrong with being liberal, but there is when you take it to the extent where you hate people and don't care what Hamas is doing. And I am appalled at what is going on at some of these universities that are supposed to be the 10 best in the country. And it's just horrible. All right. So start and check out what's going on in your kids' schools, all of them. And the last thing I want you to do is don't stereotype people because of the country they came from, or the color of their skin, or anyway, don't stereotype them. And remember to don't engage in unequal rights. I want to read you something that you all should know. It was written by Thomas Jefferson, of course, edited by many people if you know your history. It's the declaration, opening of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Take that to heart. Okay, let's move on a little bit. Let's talk about the debates last night, because you're not going to see any Democrat debates because President Biden is saying that he is going to run for re-election. And I believe him. That's what he wants to do. And that's his right to do that. So I'm not going to talk about the Democrats at all, except to say that there are a couple people that are running for third parties that you might want to look into. Quite frankly, if I was a Kennedy, I'd be afraid to run, because look what they did to the Kennedys. But I like many things that RFK Jr. says about medical things. However, I'm not touting him. I'm not saying anything about the Democrats. I don't want to say anything about the Democrats and their party. All I'm saying is there are no debates for the Democrats right now because President Biden has expressed his desire to run again and be reelected as president. And we don't know what Kamala Harris is doing. She says she's supporting President Biden, so we'll see. I will say one thing about the Democrats, because I'm a Californian, born and bred. Let's not elect Newsom. He ruined the state of California. What do you think he will do to the United States? And how dare he walk into the White House a few months ago with his shirt sleeves rolled up and his jacket thrown over his shoulder, being the most arrogant blankety blank there ever was. And then he takes a trip to meet with the leaders of the world. Give me a break. What right does he have to do that as governor? He can't even govern his own state. So that's all I'm saying about the Democrats. Look into the candidates. So why the Republicans are having debates is because we don't have an incumbent president that is a Republican. We have President Trump, who is leading the polls, and he has chosen not to debate because we all know what would happen. The people putting on the debates, the people asking the questions, would be asking him about his legal problems. We see enough of that on television. And he has chosen instead to go out and campaign, give campaign speeches, rallies, however you want to say it. But how much longer will he be able to do that? Because he's got gag orders on him already because of his legal problems. We don't know, but he's leading in the polls, and many people think he did an absolutely fine job as president. But we have now 5 people left in the primary and the before the convention nominee is named to be our candidate for president. We have Ramaswamy, Haley, DeSantis, Christie, and Scott. They all have illustrious backgrounds of one thing or another. Ramaswamy is an outstanding businessman. Nikki Haley, the UN foreign policy, she's very strong on. DeSantis just has done a marvelous job with Florida. Tim Scott, I really would like to see him in some post, doing something. I think he's a fine man. And Christie, I can't say anything nice about him, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut. So what I took away from the debates last night is the 2 people bashing each other the most was Ramaswamy and Haley. And I really, really take exception to the fact that Ramaswamy kept saying things like trying to denigrate her because she's a woman and talking about 3-inch heels with Cheney and this and that and everything else. I just don't get it. If he's so brilliant, why does he need to do that? Nikki Haley has wonderful experience behind her, and Ramaswamy has wonderful business experience behind him. So he could perhaps take this business experience and help with our economy, something like that. Nikki Haley, I think the only thing drawing her back from her experience in foreign policy is the fact that she's a woman. And will these people respect her? These dictators of these countries, these people who want to destroy the United States. She's very firm on what she believes, and I believe in most everything she's saying. The one thing is we need to show a little more respect to the Prime Minister of Israel. Where do these guys in a debate get by with calling him Bibi, his nickname? Now, if you have the same position as he does, and you're actually friends with him, like President Trump was, and the Bushes, and I'm sure even Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton maybe called him Bibi. But why would you on a debate stage do something like that? He's not your best friend. He's not even a friend of yours. He is somebody that you should be negotiating with and helping out in this tragic time. I just think a little more respect should be shown. Tim Scott, I think, is a wonderful person. I'm not sure that he actually has the experience to step into the presidency, but I certainly would like to see him do something else. And I think he could be even fine as a vice president. I don't know. I don't know him well enough. And in the very beginning of the debates, he kept talking about, which I think is extremely important, his mother and how she raised him and how he got to where he is now. And I really admire the man. And he's smarter than a whip. I really do admire him. So let's see what happens to him. Chris Christie, I told you I won't say anything about him because I will say one thing. Well, former Governor Christie, it's a good thing you're losing a little weight and that you finally got a suit that fits you since you've lost a little weight. Congratulations. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't even think Chris Christie, oh, never mind. I'm not going to say that. So here we are. I don't know about who's going to win what's going to happen. The one other thing I want to say is Ramaswamy was talking about TikTok and how Nikki Haley's daughter was on TikTok. Whatever she was saying, I have no idea. I don't know if she supports her mother or doesn't support her mother. I don't follow all this as much as I should. And everybody should follow it closer. It's even closer than me, because how will you learn if you don't listen to them and some of their interviews? Going after somebody's child, whether they're young or they're an adult, as in Nikki's daughter using TikTok, and going after Trump's kids because they're his kids, it's off limits as far as I'm concerned, as is a wife, unless she's involved in politics, or a husband, if he's involved in politics. I think it was a big disservice about what they were doing to the council of Trump talking about her marriage during all of this time. It was very bad. And this spreads, and people start doing that, and it has no place in politics. It really doesn't. Unless you know that the spouse is committing crimes, then they're off limits. That could be happening. So that is it for today. I want to tell you something. Once we moved down here to the desert a week ago, a week and 3 days, an amazing thing happened. We got out of Los Angeles basin. We started breathing better air. My husband's allergies, where he was coughing all the time and his nose was running away from him, it has cleared up. That's what pollution does to you. And we lived in a very nice area with lots of trees and all, but it wasn't enough apparently. Apparently some of the pollen was bothering him too. That's fair to say. So we're loving it down there, and we're moving around more, taking walks. I lost 2 pounds. I need to lose more. But we're eating healthier again. They're towards the end of deciding if we were going to move. And we looked all over California because I want to be close to my daughter. I'm a little further away than I want to be right now. But it's important for me to be close to my daughter and my grandchildren and my teenage grandchildren if they could find any time. So I think that's a very important thing if you're thinking about making a change in your life and moving. I've done a show on this before, but I do think it's important. But it's exciting. It's exciting to put together a new place where you brought the things you love with you and your furniture that you love or your paintings that you love. And you make new friends. But I have to tell all of you who are listening in today, because you did make some comments on my site and you have made telephone calls to me. I'm thrilled to be back with some of my friends I haven't seen for such a long time. And I can't wait to be with you again. And I thank you for listening in. I thank you for being supportive of me and knowing the trials and tribulations I have gone through in the last 2 years with losing my son. I often think that you can't make it through life and have a really good friend. And perhaps your best friend is your spouse. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can discuss anything with them, and you should if you have a good marriage. But you don't only have to be partners in your finances and where your kids are going to school. You need to be partners in life to have your best friend be your spouse. And he's mine. And I know many people like that. And theirs are the marriages that last the longest. So that's just a little bit on friendship today. The other thing I should say is if you're still working and you're working for somebody who's mean and awful, maybe you have to stay there till you get your full pension, or maybe you have to do something else, or maybe you're retired and you want a little extra money. Be careful who you choose and how you think of them, and if you respect them or don't respect them. Be very careful about these side hustles. I've talked about this before too. Be careful of what you're doing on the internet with some of these side hustles. It's dangerous. It's exploitive. A lot of people out there really need to make a little extra money because of retirement or just because of the economy, and they're laying people off. So investigate. In a couple of weeks, we're having a repeat guest on who was in nursing and now is out of nursing and didn't know what she was going to do. And she chose a side hustle that has done nothing but turn her life around. She's happy, she's growing, she's glowing. Her marriage is so much fun now because they have all this extra money where they can travel, they can do this and that. And I want you to think about things like that. Life is short, we all know that, and there's no reason you shouldn't be happy too. So if you're having financial problems and things like that, take a look around. There are things you can do. You could be an affiliate marketer for some place that you know well, Amazon. Look at these different things and see what you want to do. And now you may hear the children outside my little dining area. They don't know we're on a show, and so they're crying. I don't know who they are yet, but they're a little noisy. And I'm thrilled to be back again. As I say, we're going to have some exciting guests coming up. We're having some authors that have been in the police force. We're having some people that you might recognize their names that have podcasts, all sorts of things. So please watch what we're doing. Stay tuned in. And remember, we have this new thing where you can just go to k4hd.com and get on there, and you immediately will be taken to the show that's running. And I hope you're watching mine. And so it's a lot easier. You just check it out. It just goes straight to the show. And if you don't have time to listen live, don't forget we're on more than 100 podcast platforms. So remember, YouTube, all of them. I don't want to name all 101 of them. So just check us out there. We're always on Facebook Live. Remember that. And make your comments. I like to see your comments. I don't get enough comments. So if you're not enjoying what I'm telling you, tell me. If you have a subject you want to tell me. Go to my page. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I want you to always remember these things. First of all, be happy. Be gracious to others. Do an act of kindness today. There's a lot of people out there hurting. And if you can, donate to different charities. Even $1 helps them. Just think, if everybody gave $1 to Towers to Tunnels, that'd be $1 million. Okay? So remember that. The small donors sometimes get it done. Grassroots. All right, thank you. Remember, cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today. Thanks for tuning in.